Hey everybody, what's up? So excited for this next vlog. I'm going to be speaking around how, regardless of your position, you hold influence. And I get to do it in our auditorium today. So this is the church I work for. This is the auditorium. I get to be a part of this cool space. So yeah, I'm so amped. So I just want to give this recap of the story about Joseph in the Old Testament in Genesis. So if you've never heard of it, go check it out. If you had, you're probably going to know a bit about this. But Joseph was the 17-year-old boy who was loved by his father, was treated better by his father than his 11 brothers that he had. He got given a colorful coat which resembled royalty. He was getting dreams from God, and his brothers started getting jealous of him. And what happens is his brothers decided a plot to kill him, which results in them actually selling him to a bunch of traders who were on their way to Egypt. So what happens is that the brothers go and tell Jacob, his dad, that hey, he's been killed, and Joseph is on his way to Egypt and gets bought into slavery by one of the captains of Pharaoh. This captain looks after the palace, and Joseph ends up working in this guy's house. Now Joseph knew God was with him, and all he did was he was going to work hard and he was going to serve. So what happens is he is a slave, and the captain starts to notice something about him, and he notices that the Lord is with him. And from that, he elevates him to a new position of influence. So Joseph comes in a position of influence in the house as a slave, has influence over his master, and the master now has influence over the people that he's working with and the master. So time goes by and he's leading in that space and he's influencing people, and the wife of the master tries to seduce him and wants him to sleep with him, which ends up resulting in Joseph going to jail because Joseph refused it and the wife didn't want that. So he gets to jail and he's in a new position where he has influence over the prisoners. And what happens is he has influence over not only the prisoners, but the people that work there. And he's elevated into a position where he gets to care for the prisoners. So he's caring for the prisoners, and 2 prisoners get sent down, and one is the cupbearer of Pharaoh and one is the baker of Pharaoh. And what happens is Joseph cares for them and they end up having dreams, and Joseph asks, hey, what are these dreams? My God can interpret them. And they tell them, and basically it's one of them will survive and one won't. So they go back to Pharaoh, they get seen by Pharaoh again, and one survives, the cupbearer survives and the baker doesn't. So Joseph's forgotten now in jail for 2 years. Now he's had influence. I'm not sure what else he's been doing there, but I'm sure he's cultivating influence. And the Pharaoh 2 years later starts having dreams, and he starts having dreams that basically Egypt is going to have 7 years of prosperity and is going to have 7 years of famine. So he gets his magicians because he doesn't know what the dreams mean, and these magicians can't figure it out. And eventually the cupbearer says, hey, I knew a guy in jail that can do this. So he calls for Joseph, and Joseph comes and he interprets these dreams because God gave him the interpretation. From that position, he tells them what they mean, and Pharaoh elevates him to a position of where he's going to be the second most powerful man in Egypt. What happens now, he has to figure out in these 7 years of prosperity how to save, and in these 7 years of famine how to provide. So what happens is this happens. Prosperity happens, he saves, he even gets so busy, it's so much that he can't keep count. And it reaches the 7 years of famine where people from Egypt and people around Egypt come and they want food from them. And of these people were the 11 brothers that had tried to kill him and who sold him off to slavery. They come and Joseph starts speaking to them and acts like he doesn't know them, but he's recognized them. So it ends up being a whole thing until a point where Joseph can't take it anymore, and he says, hey, I'm your brother, and I don't want you to be angry anymore by the fact that you had sent me to die, because this was God's plan for me, that your family, my family, would be preserved. So the whole thing is that Joseph was in different positions of influence, and God used him in those places. So when we look at the story of Joseph, what does it mean? Why are we talking about it? Because when we look at Joseph, every position that he was in, he had influence. When he was in the household as a slave, when he was supervisor in the household, he had influence over everyone that was there. When he was in the prison, he had influence over the prisoners, as well as the warden. He also had influence over Pharaoh when he got elevated into a space to interpret his dream, as well as when he was in charge of Egypt, the second most powerful man. He had influence over the nation. So what I'm trying to say is that you and me, we have influence regardless of our position. It doesn't matter where we work. It doesn't matter if we're in school or not. It doesn't matter how old we are, young or old. We have influence. It doesn't matter on our gender, anything. It doesn't matter. Regardless of our position, we have influence, because we get to influence the ones that are in our circles, the ones that are around us. And only you can influence those people if you are in that position. So how do we influence people? How do we practically do that? Well, we got to live a life of love. We got to live a life that points towards who Jesus is and his character. So we got to get to know who he is, and the way that he did things is the way that we want to do things. We want to love people when we feel they don't deserve to be loved. We want to forgive those that we feel like we don't want to forgive. The same way Joseph lived, the same way that he treated people, we want to treat people with love. And when we do that, we reflect the character of who God is, and people become curious and they want to know about them. So as Christians, we need to live a life that points towards Jesus, where we love people. And in saying that, again, I repeat myself, I say, regardless of our position, we have influence. Wherever you are, you have influence on the people around you. That's all from me. As you can see, filming a few days later, got a haircut for summer. Shout out to this one. Where is she? There. She did the stop motion, so I hope you enjoyed the story of Joseph that we tried to interpret. But yeah, hit the subscribe button, follow us, continue to see the journey. What are you doing, Ashley? That's all from us. Cheers. Say bye.